Hey guys, welcome to the video series of Apache Airflow. Hope you guys are doing well and staying safe. In today's video, we'll talk about the concepts of Airflow, look into how to start and manage Airflow in GCP, run our first DAG there, talk about the structure of DAG and concepts around DAG. So without further ado, let's start it. DAG. So DAG stands for directed cyclic graph, which basically a graph in which the edges of graph does not form a cycle. So if you look at the image here, like on the first image, it's a graph where you can't find the dependencies, like B is dependent on A, D is dependent on B, but there is no cycle. Like the arrow defines that it's not cyclic. It's directed towards something, but it's not cyclic. So that is DAG. So similar kind of concept is used in Airflow, where DAG is basically collection of tasks with defined dependencies and no cyclic form. And so if you look at this, the second image, basically here nodes. So like run me 0, run me 1, run me 2. All these nodes are the tasks and the arrows are the dependencies. And it has to be like acyclic, means they should not be a cycle. So that is basically a DAG. And for more if to understand it better, don't be confused, like what is DAG in Airflow? DAG is nothing more than a Python file. So we'll see in a bit like how a DAG look like, but basically it's a Python file we write in a way where we define our task and dependencies of tasks, and in a graphical view they look like this, the second image. Okay, there are like some things before looking into the structure of DAG or the code of DAG. There are a few things which we need to understand. The first one is the DAG run. So the DAG run, it's just an instance of DAG. When a DAG started, we'll see in a bit, like basically an entry is created in the database by scheduler, and that's like pretty much how many times our DAG runs. So if a DAG runs 5 times a day or like 10 times a day, we will see 5 or 10 DAG runs stored in our database. Like we will see them on UI too. So basically it's an instance of DAG, like how many times a DAG is started and an entry is created in the database. And all of DAG will have a different execution time because of the even if you're running it if you trigger one by one, like they have different execution time. Task is just a unit of work in a DAG. So basically, as I mentioned in my first video, like task could be executing a Python function, it could be running a command, it could be waiting for a file, transferring a file, something like that. And from graphical point of view, as we saw in the last one, this will define a task. Like this is one task basically. So graphically it is represented as a node, and task is created by initiating an operator or a sensor class. In real world, people use task and operator interchangeably, and same with the sensor. Sensor is a special type of operator. We'll talk about that too. But basically, it's a unit of work which we are doing in our Python script. Task instance, when a task is executed in a particular DAG, then when a DAG run and the task is executed, at that time task instance is created. Basically it's the runnable entity of the task. Okay, cool. Operators. So I was mentioning about like some people use operators as interchangeably with task. So basically in Airflow we use operators to define our task, and these are like predefined templates where we pass the parameters to perform some task. And tasks can be categorized into 3 categories. The first one is the action operator, as the name says, like it's performing some kind of action. So for example, executing a bash command, executing a Python function, or printing something like that. So that's like action operator. Second is the transfer operator, which are designed to transfer data from one place to another. For example, like moving data from GCP to another cloud or S3 or something like that. And both action and transfers are they came from Airflow dot operator package. And the sensors are the special type of operators that are designed exactly to do one thing, and that is like wait for something to occur. So example could be we are waiting for an event to happen. So for example could be like waiting for a file to show up or waiting for a high partition to come. And it as I mentioned, it comes from the top two, action and transfer, come from Airflow uh, dot operators package, but this one come from Airflow dot sensors package. I want to show you on the official document of Airflow. Just give me one second. Yeah, here. So if you look at the package, so for sensor, it is Airflow dot sensors, which also, and it has so many sensor operators in it. So we have base sensor operator, high partition, file system, which I was talking about. We're waiting for a file, high partition. I give the example. So they have a bunch of them here, and same for the Airflow operators, which we call like there are two type, action and transfer. So these are the action ones, like it's to operate a bash. There's like a Docker is there, dummy operator, email, to send an email. There is another operators, and then you will find some like operators with the like ending with the name transfer. These are the transfer operators to move data from one place to another. So like this one is to from Google API to S3, and they are coming from this package. And don't worry, like we will see like where these package will be used in the DAG, but basically that's what operator means. And in real world, I've seen people using task or operators interchangeably, so don't get confused when people say that. And it's pretty much like a task. We use operators to define the task, and or in more technical terms, like operators are predefined templates for the task we want Airflow to orchestrate for us or to schedule for us. Okay, the next thing is DAG. So DAG code structure, as I mentioned, like DAG is basically it's nothing more than a Python file. So that Python file will be divided into like I'll say like in 5 pieces. We can think like that. So the first one is importing the modules, where we import the modules, and we're going to look into the example, so everything like it will be more clear. The second will be defining the default argument, then initiate the DAG, define the task, and the last like their dependencies. So that's like how the code going to look. So let's jump to a very simple code, not to confuse you. It's a very simple code, like anybody who understands Python like a little bit, they will understand this very easily. So if you look at this, the first thing I mentioned was like in our DAG will be the import jobs. So here you can see where we are using the import. We are using like here we are importing like whatever package we need, and here you can look like this is a simple DAG where we running a Python operator and running a bash command. So you can, if you look at this, like we are as I was mentioning, like we need Airflow dot operators for like action and transfer. So here we're using both action operators like to execute a Python and run a bus. So the first piece is importing the required packages, whether it could be Airflow dot operators, sensors, and there could be others. Like Airflow is much, it have like other things too. The second piece in the code is the default arguments. So why we define default arguments? These are the argument which are like consistent across the DAG. So we define them. So here are like few of them, like who's the owner of the DAG. Like I have commented them, like I'm not using here, but like what's the email, like what's the email when it fails, whether we try retries and so in upcoming videos we will go into much deeper, like what are these parameters. But here is just to give you like just like getting you familiar with the DAG. Like now you don't get confused like when people use DAG, like what is it? It's just basically a Python script. And and it's the structure, like the general structure of DAG is pretty much like this. You will see pretty same in all Apache Airflow DAGs. So the different operators are there, like different parameters which you can define here, but we are using only like a start date time here. Then after that, the third piece was initiate the DAG. So we can use with, or there is like other way to initiate the DAG, like I prefer this one. So we have to initiate the DAG here and pass the parameters. And here also we can pass more than 3 parameters, but we are using only 3. So one is the default argument, which we like we already talked. So in default args, we pass this, and the first one is the like is the DAG ID. So like this is always important. Like when you go to Airflow front end, like we will go in a bit, there you will see this name. Like even if like for example the DAG, the file, I named it like a demo.py. You won't, like when we upload into the DAGs folder, we're going to do that in a bit, then the name you will see on the front end will be this. So you need to be like very cautious, like what kind of, like this is the ID, how you identify your DAG in the Airflow GUI. Okay. And then after that, we define the task. And as I mentioned, the tasks are defined by initiating the operator class. So here you can see we have 2 tasks. One is the Python and the other one is the bash. So the task name is hello Python, and here the task name is goodbye bash. And for task also, like the task ID is mandatory, but there can be other parameters. This is a simple one, so we're using simple, like we're not using a lot of parameters there, but task ID is mandatory. So here the task ID is hello, task ID is goodbye. This will you see in what's that? In the graphical view of this. And basically like here what we're doing, we're like we are Python callable, like this is basically call the function. So if you go there, like we defining a Python function, we are simply saying in logging just print hello world, and here also echo goodbye. So this is the defining the task. This is a function which we calling here, like it's a Python function which you want to execute. This is initiating the DAG, defining the default argument, and import. So like first 4 things are clear: importing the modules which we required. Second, defining the arguments which you want. Like generally it's good practice to have like owner, email, like an email on failure, retrial, those kind of things. But it's a sample, it's a demo, so we don't need them. And then after, third is the initiating the DAG. As I mentioned, there could be more parameters, but we have only 3, like default arguments, DAG ID, what time it's scheduled, and then the 2 simple tasks. One is Python function, which is just calling the Python function and printing hello world, and the second one is the bash operator. And the last one is the defining the dependencies. So each task has set of dependencies that defines its relationship to the other task. So what that mean here is, like if you look like here, this basically this statement means goodbye bash task will execute only after hello Python task. So so basically hello Python is the upstream task, goodbye bash is the downstream task. And this is like one way of defining the dependencies. There is another way using the like set upstream and set downstream, which we will see in the future. But here you can see this is like one way where like it says hello Python is upstream and goodbye bash is the downstream task. So goodbye bash won't execute until hello path executes successfully. So this is the sample file, demo.py. Let me check. Now the next thing is, let's go to the one second. Okay, so I as I mentioned in the last video, like I'm going to use a managed services instead of like downloading everything. Like as I said, like we are more interested in looking like how Airflow work instead of like the infrastructure of Airflow and all those stuff. So uh, to create a, like a air like a, to get Airflow in GCP, you need to have a GCP account, and in GCP, like it's like you get free credit for a year, so don't worry about like you won't be charged if you have the free account. And after that, you just need to like create a simple project, name whatever you want, and after that look for the Cloud Composer. And once you search for Cloud Composer, like I already created a like a an environment here. Like if you click here, like I already created, they call it Composer, but basically underneath it's Airflow. So don't get confused like, oh, it's different. No, it's the same thing, but they call it here Composer, which which have an instance of Airflow. It have other things too, but like it have an instance of Airflow. So the thing, like what you need to do is you log in into your Google Cloud Platform or GCP, search for Cloud Composer, and the first thing, like in your first video, you will see something enable API or something. Like if you haven't created Composer ever, so that will be the thing. Click on enable it, and after that, just click on this Composer. Name it. So I'll name it Airflow Demo 2. Location, then select your location. I'm selecting mine. I'm in US East 1, so I select that. And after that, like if you want, you can change stuff. Like I'm not going to change anything, and then simply click on create. And after that, you will be here. And it is as simple as like, otherwise like you have to, like if you want to do it locally or through Docker and all those, like you're happy to do that, but they both will do the same thing. So this take like a while, and when I say while, means like few minutes, like I think good 5 to 10 minutes to do this. Once it's done, it will look like this. So this is like Airflow I already spin up. So if I click here, so this is the Airflow GUI, and let's have a quick tour. And it's pretty intuitive. Like it's if you look around, like it's pretty intuitive. It's like nothing very confusing here. So if I go back here, like this is for web browser, which we were talking about, and the other thing was the DAG folder I mentioned last time. So this is the, if you click here, you will see the DAG folder where your files, where your DAGs are there. So currently this is a by default DAG. Like when you create it, there is a by default DAG created with it, which is here. And you can like you can create your own bucket and make it as a DAG folder too. Okay, so if I go here, and if you look around from left to right, as I said, pretty intuitive, but like we can take a quick look. This is to turn on and off DAG. This is a demo DAG. Schedule it, never schedule, who's the owner. These are the recent tasks, like what happened, like whether they got failed or when was the last time it run. And this is the DAG run. This is basically, we were talking about like a number of times your DAG, whenever the DAG is created, like it will be there. So it can show you how many successes, like 21 times. After this is like, if you want to manually trigger this, you can click on that. Then this is the tree view, if you are interested in tree view. And in our in the like this Airflow monitoring DAG, there is only one task, and this is the DAG. So you can see the DAG run successfully and the task too. So if you have like, let's say 3 tasks, you will see 2 boxes inside it. If you have 5 tasks, you will see 5 boxes inside it. So that's you get from tree view. But if you go to graph view, which we were talking about, like as I mentioned, like this is, it have only one task. That's why like only one box. We're going to upload this script, which we talked already. So we will see there will be 2 tasks, and if you like hover over, like I like this is pretty cool. Like if you hover over, like it tells like what's the, like it will highlight the status of that task. So if I go on success, so you see it highlight that. If something is queued, it will highlight that. Okay. Okay, DAGs is there. If you click on this, so it will give you there. What basically it means, there are like 22 entries for this DAG ID, and like, and all of them are at different times. If you look at this, okay, that's pretty cool. And we can even look at the code. Logs are there too if you want to refresh. Gantt view, the Airflow you download, like you get all these options here, but like because of my screen is not big, and in GCP these are like kind of provided in a way like whatever you want you can see that. So if I click on this, like you will see the code view. So look at this, same thing, import default argument, DAG initiation, one task, and there is no other task, so there is no dependency. Okay, and the DAG name, DAG ID is Airflow monitoring. That's what we are seeing there. And the task is basic. This is the task, which is basically a bash operator. Okay, click here. Let's do one thing very quickly. Let's upload our file. Demo.py. Okay, refresh. So now it's in the folder, and let's see if it gets uploaded here. So like you will be like, why it's not, like if you're refreshing, why it's not. So there is one like one thing we need to keep in mind, like folder sync with the like web browser or scheduler have a like a parameter which by default I'm guess set to 5 minutes, or it could be different on GCP, but generally it's set to 5 minutes. So sometime when you upload a file in a folder, you will be like, why it's not showing on my web browser? It's because of that parameter. So that, as I said, it by default to 5 minutes. You can reduce it to like 5 seconds or something, so your file upload faster. That's why, like, but don't be like a panic, like when you upload something to your DAG folder, why it's not showing on the like a front end. It's because of that setting, like that's that parameter, you can say. We'll see if, yeah, so I guess it's here like maybe 10 seconds or something, but I think I know like in the local Airflow it is 5 minutes. So always change it, and otherwise like you will be confused. So you can see Composer sample simple greeting. If you look at the code again, that's our DAG ID, and that's the name you see here. That's what I was mentioning earlier, like my file name is demo.py, but still you seeing it here in this way. And if we go to the tree view, now you see you have like two tasks here. Like in the other one, like there was like one DAG and one task, but here like we have two tasks, so you will see both of them here and what's their status. And you will be like, we just uploaded, because in our code, like it's the start time is like backdated. That's why it's happening. Okay, don't worry about that. And if you go to graph view, you can look, we have two tasks, and by is dependent on hello, and that's what we were talking, like the task ID will show in the graph. Here the task ID is hello bye. It's not hello Python or goodbye bash, it's hello and bye. And if you want to trigger the DAG, you can trigger like currently if we go to queue, nothing is in queue, there is no status at this point. Like if you want to trigger, it will trigger hopefully. Yeah, click on trigger, go to graph view, and these are the tags, like what operators you're using. Still like it's not in the queue, but you can trigger, like you got the idea how to trigger this. And these are the DAG runs, how many times like these DAGs are runs. Okay, let's try one more time. Same thing. Okay, so this is the DAG flow. It's in the it should be in the queue, or it's not started yet. Like, go here. Yeah, so you see it's in the queue. Like if I click on queue, so it's in the queue. Like when I trigger, like it's in the queue. It took a while, but like it's in the queue. And once it's run successfully, like once it will be running, like it will be in light green, and when it's run successfully, it will be. These are the task status. So these are the different task status, like whether they have a status or not, queued, running, success, failure. But these things are very intuitive. Like that's what I like about it. Like the front end is very intuitive, and we can the look and feel is pretty good. Looks simple, and we can do more than this. This was a simple example, and the code which we uploaded, if we want to check, we can check it here too. Like it's the same code, so that's good too. So that's pretty much for this video, and stay tuned for the next videos where we will create more complex DAGs and do some advanced stuff in the DAG. Hopefully you're liking the videos, and stay tuned for the next one. Have a good one. Bye. Take care.